We're going to argue about a subject that's been causing a great deal of controversy in the press recently, and that is whether education is a waste of time for married women. So, of course, I've got two married women to talk about it, and they're both educated, reasonably, I suppose. What have you got by way of education?
I have a trained kindergartner certificate.
And Jean, what about you?
I'm a pharmaceutical chemist.
Tony, why don't you think that education's a good thing for married women?
Well, I think too much higher education makes them very unhappy and very frustrated.
Oh, why unhappy?
Well, there they are at home, cooking meals, running a house.
Oh, but still you get a certain amount of satisfaction out of that. You can do your housework first and still go out and still be home in time for the children when they come home.
You should be contented to stay home. If you have too much education, your mind's stimulated too much, you're not happy to stay home all the time.
No, Tony, no.
Yes.
You get stuck into a nice little rut where you don't want to be bothered with anybody else.
Well, I think that's probably the best thing to happen to women.
You were Lady Mayoress of Melbourne, weren't you, fairly recently? What sort of effect was education in this situation?
I found it helped me considerably when it came to making speeches. Just helped me in that way, helped me with the problems that came up at different times, and I really enjoyed it.
But what about the average woman who has been to the university? She marries and has children and she stays home, or she should stay home. She'd be happier if she stayed home, probably.
Well, supposing you start having babies when you're 20 and you're free by the time you're 45.
Well, then you can do a university course then.
Oh, you wouldn't be bothered when you were that age.
Well, then doesn't that just show how useless it is?
Do you really think you can bring up children as successfully as on a broader range of education?
Yes, I do. I've noticed that they ask me quite a lot of questions about their homework, and I can remember very little of
No,
the
but Tony,
facts.
then you can look up those facts.
Yes,
you know
but-
just where to look for them.
Well, I could look them up when I was at intermediate standard.
But could you?
I think so, yes.
I don't think you could.
What
Well, I
about
don't
homework?
approve of homework in any case. I think it's quite wrong. I think that children have a terrible time these days with the amount of examinations they have, the amount of study they have. I really
Well,
do.
what about television?
Eliminate homework, don't bring any books home at all, and let them watch
then
good
that-
television
Hey,
programs.
listen, you two,
Hmm?
back to the point. What about your relationships with your husbands? Do you think, for instance, a low education contributes to happiness on this score?
Yes, I think it probably does.
Oh, why? Look, you can discuss things with your husband if you have the intelligence to do so.
The husbands like discussing world
Yes,
problems with their wives
definitely.
very much.
Oh, I think
Well, they don't have
so.
to be world problems. You
They
don't
can
have
be
to be
any
solving
problems.
the whole situation of the world.
Well, that's what I mean. Up to an intermediate standard is quite high enough. You can discuss problems at that stage quite well.
What would you do tomorrow, supposing you were left a widow?
Well, I'd go back to kindergarten work, probably.
Exactly what you were trained for.
No, but what I'm saying is if I had learnt typing and shorthand, which I wish I had, I'd have very much more chance of getting jobs more suited to my age than I would as a
Then,
kindergarten.
Tony, you had a good education too, you know, that if you did go to shorthand and typing, you would be able to spell correctly, you would know the meaning of the words, whereas low intermediate and up to intermediate, they don't always know.
What you would like to do is to be just as good as an educated person by instinct. Is that the same?
No, I think that too much education fogs the mind up too much.
You don't really think that you would be happy and contented just living in a house, doing housework, looking after children?
Well, I can't tell because I've had too much education.
Oh, Tony. Look, I think we better wind this up and